probability, but instead we'll be doing it using spinners. So let's get started with our first question. What is the probability of landing on red? Suppose a spinner does land on red. Well, what are the chances of it landing on this red section? There's 4 total colors that the spinner could land on: red, green, yellow, or blue. But there's only one section or favorable outcome that we want, which is to land on the red section. So we know that the chance of the spinner landing on red, or the probability, is 1/4, as there's one red section and a total of 4 sections that it could land on. Let's take another example. What is the probability of landing on yellow on a first spin and green on a second spin? Let's start by finding the probability of landing on yellow when spinning the spinner once. Well, there's one yellow section out of a total of 4 other sections. So we know that the probability of landing on yellow on a first spin would be 1/4. Now, let's find the probability of landing on green on a second spin. Again, there's one green section and a total of 4 sections or other colors that the spinner can land on. So we know that the probability would again be 1/4. Since this question is asking for the chances of landing on both a yellow on a first spin and green on a second spin, we must multiply these individual probabilities, as it's asking for the combined probability of landing on both yellow and green. So we can multiply 1/4 times 1/4 to get a probability of 1/16, which are the chances of landing on yellow on a first spin and green on a second spin. Now, let's take a little bit of a more complex example and use a different spinner. Here we have a spinner numbered 1 through 8, with 8 equal sections along the spinner. What is the probability of landing on 2? Suppose we spin the spinner and land on 2. Well, what are our chances? There's only one section that is numbered 2, which is a section we want to land on. And there's a total of 8 other numbered sections that we could land on. So we know that the probability of landing on 2 would be 1/8, or 1/8. Let's take yet another example. What is the probability of landing on an odd number? Well, how many of these numbers are odd? Out of these 8 numbers, we know that 1, 3, 5, and 7 are all odd numbers. That gives us a total of 4 odd numbers throughout this spinner. There's 4 odd numbers out of a total of 8, so we know that the probability of landing on an odd number is 4/8, which we can also simplify down to 1/2. Therefore, 1/2 or 50% are our chances of landing on an odd number. Finally, let's take a last example using both of these spinners. What is the probability of landing on blue on the first spin using this colored spinner, and a 2 for the second spin using this numbered spinner? To do this question, let's start by finding the chances of landing on blue on the first spin using this colored spinner. Similarly, as we've done before, we can see that there's one blue section out of a total of 4. So we know that the probability of landing on this blue section is 1/4. Now, let's find the probability or chance of landing on 2 for this second spinner. There's one section labeled 2, and there's a total of 8 numbers. So I know that the probability of landing on 2 is 1/8. If we go back to the question, we can see that it's asking for the chances of landing on both blue and a 2. So we can multiply these two individual probabilities, 1/4 times 1/8, to get our total chances. Therefore, we get a total of 1/32, which is a probability or chances of landing on blue on the first spin, on our colored spinner, and 2 for the second spin on our numbered spinner. Tomorrow, we'll be looking at more complex probability questions using cards, dice, coins, and spinners.